Hey guys, welcome back to Clueless Gamers. I'm Pete.
I'm Spider-Man.
I'm Dylan.
All right, and we are back to review the probably biggest movie of the year, I'm going to say. I'm going to say it's going to be bigger than Episode 9 or anything else coming out this year. Avengers Endgame, the fourth Avengers movie, the final kind of wrap-up here to a lot of our Avengers character storylines. It's technically not the end of the Infinity Saga. That's actually Far From Home. It's kind of ending on Spider-Man, but whatever. But we're back.
Yeah.
We're back to review. We're back to review your movie later this summer. But we're back to review Avengers. If you didn't see our last Infinity War from like a year ago, click on that. We had some great thoughts about that. But if you've not been to the channel, basically we do like a general impressions. There's no spoilers in the beginning. Then we do likes, dislikes, and a rating. I feel like we're going to have a lot to talk about in this movie. It's 3 hours and 2 minutes. It's a very action-packed, a lot of dialogue happens, a lot of things happen. So let's just get into it, I say. So starting with general impressions, for me, do I have nitpicks of this movie? Yeah, sure. I feel like anytime you introduced elements of time travel, that kind of stuff can happen, and we'll talk about that more. But overall, as finishing off pinnacle characters in Tony, in Steve, in Natasha, and all our original 6 characters, I think they did a fantastic job. I think there's amazing callbacks in this movie to the other previous 21 films. I think the Easter eggs throughout this movie were great. The action, especially, I would say, in the second half of the movie, considerably picks up. But even in the first half, there's a lot of great dialogue, emotional scenes, scene building, world building going on there. And overall, it's a movie you need to see. This is a must-see event. You've probably been spoiled already if you have not seen this movie. So go out, see this movie. It made $1.2 billion opening weekend, which is by far a box office record. So absolutely crazy. But yes, go out and see this movie.
Just to go off the cusp real quick, did you guys get spoiled before?
No, actually.
You did not.
I did not. I almost did, but I did not.
I did, actually.
Oh, okay. So we'll talk about in the spoilers edition what you got spoiled about.
Absolutely.
That sucks. I'm sorry,
It was
buddy.
very minor. It didn't ruin the experience at all.
But still, was it on Twitter?
It was on Twitter.
It's always Twitter.
Yeah.
Twitter's the worst.
So, anyway, we'll get to that. Generally speaking, I'm not going to add too much. I just thought it was amazing. And I thought ending such a major saga with so many amazing characters and so many memorable characters, and to conclude all of these stories, I thought was going to be maybe like too challenging, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
But they knocked it out of the park. Absolute masterpiece. And I don't think there was any character that I look at and I say, wow, they really didn't do as much as I wish they did in this movie. I thought they concluded everyone's character arcs amazingly, especially of the original Avengers. And yeah, I've absolutely, time travel is time travel.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
But zero complaints really from me. Zero major complaints. I absolutely loved it.
That's great.
Yeah, I'll keep it short again. I agree. I think overall, there was very minimal that I was like I don't even think there was one thing where I was just like, I don't really like that. There were some things where I was like, oh, they could have done it this way, they could have done it that way. But from an overall standpoint, this is a movie that I've only seen once, and I'm itching to go back and see it again.
No, I can't wait.
And so, this is a movie that you said you have to see it. You might have to see it twice.
I think so.
It's a movie
It's a long movie.
Yeah, it's a movie that I want to go back and sit and because the second time watching it, you know what's coming, so now you're looking for other things.
Oh, yeah.
Right, that's how you catch the Easter egg.
Yeah, so I think that would play a big factor. I'll probably see it in the next week or two again, just because I really want to see it for a second time.
What was your bathroom strategy?
I didn't drink a ton of water or anything right before the movie, like the last couple hours before the movie.
Yeah.
And then I went to the bathroom right before the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I was struggling by the end, but I didn't get up until the movie was over.
As soon as the preview started, I went to the bathroom. It's the only time I've ever gone to the bathroom during the previews.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could not risk it.
I went to the bathroom during the previews, and then I really had to go to the bathroom again, probably because I had an energy drink at some point, and that runs your bladder quick.
Big mistake.
Well, what I did smartly was when I went to the bathroom. No, when I went to the bathroom, I had to play it out. So when they were kind of recapping, they how they were. I don't want to really spoil any scenes,
right,
but they were going into different parts of the world with different people, and there was a part that was very slow and kind of it was easy enough where I knew exactly what was going to happen.
So you
at
ran
that
to
point.
the bathroom.
So I literally 45 seconds. I sprinted to the back. I was literally running through the hall to the bathroom.
Smart move.
Were you wearing the outfit when you were running?
You know, I was kind of upset because I figured if we all went together, we would have our, people would be wearing
I was
something.
wearing my Captain Marvel
I was
gear.
going to say, you'd be rocking Marvel. I mean, we'd get Dylan an Iron Man shirt. It was his favorite character. And then I would wear Spider-Man. So, no, but yeah, I went and came back and didn't really miss anything at all. So
There was a lot of great memes actually about it, where it was just like some people go to the bathroom during Avengers, not us. So there was, and they put like the A in bathroom was the Avengers symbol. Like it was very creative.
Dude, I
there.
didn't even drink an ounce of fluid from about, I want to say like 5:30 on, and I still had to go to the bathroom a second time because I had an energy drink at 3 o'clock.
It is a long movie. It doesn't feel like 3 hours.
No,
at least
no,
to
no.
Oh,
me.
no. It was the
But-
quickest 3
But
hours
your body
ever.
feels it, because you definitely need to use a bathroom. But I think overall, I didn't see that many people getting up, so that was pretty good.
Saw about 3 in a 500-person theater.
Right. So wow. Okay. So all right, that is our non-spoiler kind of review there. We tried to keep it as short as possible because there's a lot of spoilers to talk about. If you've not seen Avengers Endgame and you care about spoilers, get off the video. Put it in your save for later, watch for later, whatever it's called, and then come back if you want to and watch us after you see the movie. So do not blame us if we're going to spoil literally everything, all right? So 3, 2, 1. All right,
First spoiler. All right, unzip this thing.
all right, so unzip it. Jumping into likes.
Wait, can you
I
unzip
think you
this
have
thing?
to unzip it.
Yeah, no, I can't get that.
I believe in you, bro. Oh, it's stuck, bro.
Getting into likes.
Yeah, you go.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so many. It was just such a great movie, and I have to say, there were so many twists and turns.
I don't know what you did, but it's not working.
It worked enough. That's all. That's all that matters.
I
There was so
actually-
many twists and turns.
Before I could get into that, I want to say what I was spoiled on. So
yeah.
someone, I think it was not Mark Ruffalo,
Oh, that would have been crazy.
or what? I think it was Mark Ruffalo. Yeah, the guy who plays Hulk.
Yeah.
Mark Ruffalo. Sometimes
he
I'm
actually
horrible.
spoiled it?
No, he said something about don't post any spoilers, guys, about a week before the movie. Clicked on that tweet, scrolled down. It was a low-res picture of Hulk with the 6 stones on his fist.
Damn. Still,
Yeah,
that
but I
still
genuinely thought, and then, there were a few replies like, you're an absolute piece of crap. And I thought that for a second it was a fake picture because it was such like low res, and I was like, maybe that's like fan made, and I was able to convince myself that wasn't real. And then as they're getting the 6 stones and as they're discussing, like,
You knew.
I was like, wow, that was a real picture, that was a real
Yeah.
event. But at that point, you're so engrossed in the movie and it's so enthralling that it didn't ruin it for me at all.
It sucks. So we were talking about just before we went on here. If you followed LaShawn McCoy, the Buffalo Bills running back, on Twitter, you would have been mistakenly just scrolling through Twitter and been majorly spoiled about Tony Stark's death, about Captain America, what happened to him. He just openly made a video about it and was just writing all over his timeline about it on, like, I think it was Thursday. So that was pretty messed up. He got a lot of hate.
Yeah, he should've.
And not in the sense of, like, I didn't see anyone saying, like, mean things in the sense of, like, oh, I hope you die. But it was more like, dude, like, seriously?
Yeah.
Like, I know a lot of people were like, oh, dude, I'm unfollowing you. Like, that's that. So that was, and he never apologized for it either.
No, well-
so that was pretty
Well,
messed
he's
up.
got. It just goes with the personality of being a Buffalo Bills player, so it's nothing
It is
that
the
I
Jet fan in you.
wouldn't, come to be surprised at. But yeah, in terms of likes, the twists and turns right in the beginning. Them getting to Thanos and defeating him like that.
Right
I
there.
thought that was going to be the whole movie.
Yeah.
I thought, I had theorized that maybe, I think we had talked about it, that they, like, the people were maybe trapped in the Soul Stone.
Yeah,
and they
which
were going
has
to
happened in comics.
And they were going to have to maybe go into that realm after defeating him. And it didn't go that route at all, which I loved. Of course, then you have to introduce the time travel.
Yeah.
But the throwbacks to all the other movies when they split up, especially going back to New York City fighting Loki and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
it was
And
great.
it was amazing, man. It was so cool to see. And my friend Rob, who was sitting next to me during the movie, when they were all going in teams and they were deciding who was going to go after what stones, my friend Rob was like, "Oh my god, if Cap goes after
I
the
know.
Soul
I
Stone,
said the same thing. I
he's
was like,
gonna
he'll
see-
know Red Skull's
Yeah,
alive.
yeah. Oh,
and
that would be
unfortunately,
amazing.
it didn't happen.
Didn't happen.
I
But
was
you know
hoping at least Clint mentioned it to him, and he went, "Wait, who?"
But then again,
But-
they wouldn't know who that is.
I mean, it's in your history books. Everyone knows the Red Skull.
That's
the
in
Red
that
Skull
universe.
started
You're
Hydra.
right.
So.
You're right. You're right. mad. But then again, it's understandable because of what happened
Right.
when he went
and
there.
also, like, you could think, like, it looks like him, but, like, you're not sure.
Right. That would have been crazy if he
I
went
know,
there.
I was hoping that.
But it was so cool to see those odes. And, I mean, the big twist, which is one of my massive likes, is Scarlett Johansson's character getting killed off.
Yeah.
That is
crazy.
a twist. Me and the entire group of 5 that I went to see, when I had mentioned it after, everyone was like, did not see that coming.
Yeah.
We all kind of theorized heading in that Cap or Iron Man was
Yeah, we
gonna
figured
die.
one of the two of them, and they kind of both in some way
They
died.
both did, and
even though Cap's still technically alive.
And both of their scenes, by the way, incredible. Both of their kind of
Excellent.
farewell ending
Excellent.
scenes.
Yep. Passing
Amazing.
the torch.
Amazing. But that Scarlett Johansson scene, that's the one that really caught me off guard. And you don't know which one it's going to be because they're fighting.
It was going back and forth.
Yeah.
And at first, like, as it was getting toward the end, I was like, okay, let's just decide who's going down the cliff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they went a couple more, like, fighting moves, I would have been like, it's a little much. But, like, it was just perfect enough where between two best friends, as how much Nat is a part of Barton's life and his family, and, like, how they were going to name the kid, if it was a girl, after Natasha, but it ended up being the boy, and so they nicknamed him. The middle name was like Pietro for Quicksilver in Age of Ultron. They're that close.
Yeah.
So you feel the weight, and I think it was a great job by Jeremy Renner and Scarlett Johansson. Amazing acting there.
Yeah.
And we go through the Gamora thing all over again, man.
Yep.
When we lose someone like that, it's just like every time the goddamn Soul Stone, we gotta lose somebody.
Yeah.
Every time.
And I didn't realize it at first, but when they started walking,
When it
with
was
Red Skull,
just two of them, and I
that's when
thought
was
about
like,
it, I was
wow,
like, ah, damn it.
one of them's dead.
Yeah.
And I honestly thought it was good. I didn't think it was going to be Romanoff. I thought it was going to be the guy, but
Yeah.
it was an amazing scene. Probably one of my favorite scenes of the whole movie.
Yeah.
The massive bat. I mean, there's so many likes to take, but I've kind of, I've talked for a bit.
No, and I like that you are. I say right from the opening jump. And I said that to these guys before this started,
With Captain Marvel.
No, like that we're in the beginning, you're going through
Right,
your
right,
previews
right.
and your trailers, and then bang, it's a cold opening. We jump right into Hawkeye, where I had to go, oh, the lights are coming down. The movie started. Like, here we go. And to have the scene that we all knew was coming, but you kind of had to have it as necessary from his perspective, since we didn't see him at all during Infinity War. He wasn't like Ant-Man, who wasn't there, but we got Ant-Man and the Wasp, and we saw how that was going there, and he got trapped in the quantum realm. He's the last of the original 6, the only original 6 that was not associated in Infinity War. So he needed that scene of like, oh, look, he's teaching his daughter, who may or may not, in the Hawkeye TV show that's coming, might be Kate Bishop. They might do something like that. Who knows, right? Her name is not Kate, but they might go that route. Teaching her, seeing that, they have all these jokes of like, who puts mayo on a hot dog and all this stuff. Yeah. And how terrifying it is that if you don't know what's going on, you just turn around and be like, oh, did they go in the house? Oh, no, dust. What the hell just happened? Where is everybody?
Vanished.
And he's out on a pretty isolated farm. It's not like he can go... He's not in a major city where he could see it happening around him. That must have took him a little bit to like, wait, what is going on? Yeah. Who is Thanos?
Probably
We're getting
turned on the
attacked
news
right now.
to see it. Yeah.
And that was a perfect horrifying scene that is not only great for the emotional stake and kind of the horror stake, but it sets up why, when we see him 5 years later, why he is Ronin at that point. Yeah. Why he is the way he is because of everything that has happened to him. And that his idea is, why has he become like this? It's not just because he's lost his family. He's lost his family and everyone else has lost their family. And he goes, the half of people that are left, those people that survived, there should not be any bad people. There shouldn't be Yakuza and Mexican cartels. They deserve all to die, and I'm going to kill them. Yep. Because the people that are left, all those should be good people who should be grateful that they didn't get snapped.
Yep.
So we're not doing this where we're going to have all these horrible people exist. So he makes it his mission. Yep. And that scene in Japan, I would assume, is Tokyo, where he's going after the Yakuza, and you barely can see him. That's how remember, he's a human being, and that's how fast he's moving. And it shows how horrifying that someone like Clint Barton can be. Mm-hmm. That as we forget what all these cosmic level heroes, that look how horrifying he could be, where he's just killing people left and right. They couldn't even see him. They couldn't shoot him. Mm-hmm. That was great. Yeah. And then, to have Black Widow there, bring him back to the fold and be able to convince him and have that emotional scene started off there where it ties so much back to when they go to Vormir with the Soul Stone. Mm-hmm. Love that.
Yeah, I think the way she was brought, like, she brought herself into that, and the way, like, she almost didn't want to say, like, there's a chance we can bring your family back, because she knew, like...
Well, he said, don't give me hope.
Yeah, because she knew it wasn't 100%, and that's exactly what he says. He's like, don't give me hope. Because, like, if you're gonna tell someone that and then not succeed at it, that's even worse than them just thinking that they're gone forever.
Yeah.
So that was what I love, because at that point it's like he's got to choose right then and there. Like, what are you gonna do? But when you realize everyone's coming together there, to him at least, it's like, all right, whatever. It's like, we're either gonna die or I'm gonna get my family back. So
I think he was cool with it, honestly, either way.
yeah,
Because at least he gets to, rest with them, basically.
Yeah,
If he finally dies.
well, that's why I thought he was gonna die.
Yeah.
Soul Stone, because it's like basically his thought process could be, well, if we don't win and like something else happens, or like it's just we lose and it's still half the people left on Earth, he's like, well, at least I'm dying and I'm with my family type thing, rather than like him having to live on this Earth without them for the rest of his life.
But that's why I knew he wasn't going to die in Vormir, because I'm like, they're definitely going to be able to reverse this and bring his family back. There's no way then you kill him and now his family has to live without him. So like you knew it had to be Natasha, which doesn't make it any less sad, but still, it was great tension.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%, and I love how. Like, you haven't seen that relationship between him and Natasha in a while, because he wasn't in Infinity War.
Yeah.
So in the whole like timeline of just Avengers itself, they haven't been together for a while.
They really haven't been together since Age of Ultron. Like, it's been a long time.
So so like at like seeing how close they are, you almost forget that was like that their relationship, they were that close.
Reminds
to each
you
other.
of kind of Avengers 1. It kind of goes back to.
Yeah. So like when they were like, even when they were like talking and like you could like feel like that, like the closeness between them. I was like, it took me a second to realize, like, oh wow, like they were actually that close, because in like I feel like in Infinity War, it's more of her being with Bruce, like, and like they're very close, and you don't really see that other relationship for years.
Yeah, I mean, literally, I think the last time they have an interaction is in Civil War, where like they're fighting a little bit. And it's just like, oh, we still friends. It depends on how hard you hit me, and that like is really it. Like, then he goes to prison, and Natasha kind of helps out Cap's team, and that's really it. Like, there's not a lot of scenes really since Age of Ultron. So, like, I think it was necessary to put those two characters that had such a close relationship that we saw since the first Avengers. You had to give them their own mission and their own way to have it off, and perfectly tied in at the end. And I assume we're going to bounce all around here, but to have the conversation between Wanda, Scarlet Witch, and Hawkeye there at the end, or Ronan, however you want to call him, Clint.
Yeah.
And have them looking out on the lake after Tony's funeral. These two characters who he really helped her come into the Avengers and come into her own in Age of Ultron.
Yep.
So it makes sense that they're both talking. They're close in that way. You see their scenes in Civil War as well. And then they've both lost significant people in their lives.
Yeah.
And that they're the two trying to comfort each other of like, we have to live on for them. And like, things are different now. We'll never forget them and stuff like that. Of like, they've affected my life permanently. And I thought that was a beautiful scene.
Well, and he even says, he's like, I wish I would be able to tell her so that she knows. Yeah. And then she's like, they both know.
Yeah.
Like,
it was great.
Referencing that. And it's cool because, again, at that point, you don't even think of it that way. Yeah. Like that they're both out there, they're both gone, and they both had lost somebody.
Yeah.
Well, because there was no extravagant funeral scene for either of those characters.
Exactly.
Like with Tony Stark, you had the funeral scene to close off the movie pretty much. With them, they didn't really get like, it was at least from what we know, like a proper send-off like them. Like Tony Stark. So
it was honestly shocking, though. I will say I was shocked that they didn't even like make a mention or attempt to bring back Vision. Like, I guess just because the way we left off in Infinity Wars, we couldn't get the stone out in time by the time they got attacked, and that he needs the stone until they fix that, and you couldn't take the stone back out of the timeline again. Like, as soon as they were done, it had to be put back in the timeline, and he's the unfortunate casualty. Obviously, not the last we see of Vision. Him and Wanda are getting a TV show that I assume is set probably between Civil War and Infinity War. I'm thinking those 2 years is probably set in between there.
Yeah.
They have rumored that it might somehow be set in the 50s, but I don't see how that's possible. I assume she has like reality-like powers, so maybe she makes it like the 50s, but it really isn't.
I mean, you don't see Vision returning in any future movies. Because Tony Stark built Vision.
Yeah,
right?
well, Bruce had a part, and Ultron had a part. The only way is if you bring Ultron back, maybe there's a way you can do that again, but I don't know. I think this TV series is going to kind of give that Vision like fill in the universe.
Okay.
Even though
Fill
it's not
void.
in the current timeline of like everything's set before what happens.
I also want to say Scarlet Witch, for the little that she was in this movie, was incredible.
That scene with Thanos?
That scene with Thanos.
Oh, come on. One of my favorites in the movie.
So great. Yeah. Because, I mean, you don't actually think that in a one-on-one fight, it just shows how strong
She's incredibly powerful.
She's so strong, and it's just
she's actually kind of depowered in the MCU. In the comics, I mean, she's accidentally killed almost all mutants on the planet before in the House of M storyline.
That's
very
crazy.
great comic.
The
book.
only way this movie could have been a little better is if, and I said this to my friends right after, I think they said this, and I'm pretty sure it's right. You'll know this. I think the acquisition of Fox happened a little too late for this movie.
It did.
But when all the portals, when they're all coming out
and
of the
X-Men
portals,
come through.
well, no, and Deadpool comes through, and he goes, fuck this, and he walks
That
right
would have
back out.
actually been great.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah.
And with Deadpool movies, I guess they could do that because he's like time travel,
and he could break the fourth wall. He's killed the whole Marvel universe
exactly.
before.
So now the fact that like Deadpool is in, it's just but that would have been amazing. If they
I think
did that.
anything, unfortunately, that has to do with Fox is probably several years down the line.
I think you're right.
If he like walks in, he's like, "What's going on here, guys?"
I've still, I know some people are against it. I've still said that from the beginning that now with the unfortunate passing of Stan Lee, and this was his final cameo in this movie. Deadpool is a great character to have as that cameo person in every single movie because he doesn't abide by any laws. Like, it doesn't matter what he says, where he is. He breaks the fourth wall everywhere he is, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah. Like, I think that would be great.
But alluding to, without X-Men and Deadpool, that scene was still incredible. Just like
it was amazing.
When the whole army is coming and they do such a good job of...
And how Tony, Steve in that moment is completely desperate. The shield's broken.
He's down. Yeah. You think he's dead, honestly. You think he's dead. And that was after he had the moment with Thor's hammer, which is, the whole audience is going.
Finally, we get the comic book look. And as Thor goes, I knew it. He was worthy enough. Yeah. It took to this time to be worthy.
And even in the one scene where they all try to lift the hammer, when Captain America does it, Thor's the only one that gets a little nervous
because he moved it a little bit.
Yeah.
And at that point, a lot of people theorized, and me and my friends theorized that, they never say exactly why he can't lift it then. But it didn't seem like he knew his place in the world. At that point, it was like he just got betrayed by the government and Hydra and all that stuff. Uh-huh. You need to be fully worthy as a warrior. You're willing to kill to pick it up, but also like you're a noble person. You're good at heart. All those things. And I think he just didn't know his place in the world. He wasn't sure about himself. Yep. Now, after being on the run for 2 years, after Civil War and everything that happened in Infinity War, now it's another 5 years that he finally was ready, and he was able to do it.
That's a great theory. Another amazing scene is the elevator scene with Captain America.
Oh, yeah. The callbacks. Amazing. Actually, can we save some of the time travel stuff for a second?
Yes, sure.
We'll talk about that in a separate thing.
I know, we're kind of hopping around.
Which is totally fun. The Scarlet Witch thing, I did want to say that just to have the scene of just like her to come down, almost Doctor Strange like in Infinity War, where it's like that one-on-one like video game thing. Mm-hmm. And it's just so great because it's just like, do you know like what you took from me? And Thanos is just like, I don't even know who you are. You will. And then just like her eyes to go red and like that he had to call in an airstrike to save his own life there.
Yeah.
Because, at that point he doesn't have the glove from what I remember.
Right.
But just to show how badass she is.
Well, I think that's why she was used so little in the movies.
Yeah.
Is because you in the bits and pieces you get her, you realize she could do a lot on her own.
Yeah,
She could probably take most, if not everyone, out single-handedly.
Yeah.
It's very similar, I think, with Captain Marvel.
Yes.
And I think that's why they were both
Thor
used.
too.
I think that's why they were both used sparingly in this movie. And I thought they were used well, though. I thought they were used really well.
I feel like Thor, though, like you said, like Thor could realistically, the way he is with lightning and everything else, could take basically anything and everyone on. But I feel like he's almost humanized in the Avenger movies.
Yeah.
He's not as much of, especially in this one where he's
incredible.
like drinking. Like
you see what's happened to him.
He's playing Fortnite, like literally.
It was hilarious. I mean, it was hilarious, but at the same time, it was when you take a step back.
Sad.
Like it was good comedic relief, but then you think about it, and it's just like. It is very sad what happened to him, and very realistic. Yeah. When you have that kind of fall from grace and you sink into depression, and
you have to understand
I think his arc was even when he went back to the past with the scene with his mom, amazing.
So, but like
every character, man.
Thor, though, if we want to switch to Thor, like okay, yes, it seems like he's a Guardian now, right? Guardians 3 came out today.
The Asgardians.
Right, the Asgardians. But like, it seems like that's where he's going. We just came out today that James Gunn said that they're going to start filming Guardians Volume 3 next year. So, which is way sooner than anybody thought was going to happen because he also is doing Suicide Squad 2. So like, he's got a lot on his plate.
That's the thing?
Yeah. So like, he's got a lot. And they just cast a guy to be the very little-known DC villain, Polka Dot Man. But that's a whole other story for another day.
Do you have any expectations for that movie?
For Suicide Squad 2?
Yeah.
No, but we'll talk about that in another video. But back to Marvel. So that was announced. You would assume Thor is going to be in that, and they clearly set up the scene there at the end. And we could talk more about this, about how the movie is probably partly going to be about, can we get Gamora back?
Yeah.
You see Peter doing the little search thing there at the end.
Yep.
But talking about Thor, right? You're taking a character that they all lost, as they try to remind him in the beginning, before we take the 5-year time jump. But when they look over and go, oh, what's his deal? Oh, he's pissed. Like, Thor takes it personally.
Yeah.
He made a weapon to kill Thanos. That's what it was for. Okay, great scenes in Infinity War and everything else when he goes to Nidavellir and all that.
Yep.
He gets Stormbreaker. If he did just aim for the head, which, you can't know that when you're throwing it against the 6 Infinity Stones, all this could have been prevented. He blames himself for that.
Yep.
So you see when they bust in, break into the garden, as Thanos calls it, chop off his hand immediately. And then he tells the whole thing of, like, I destroyed the stones and everything else. And you're like, wow, okay, so we're going to definitely do time travel. And he cuts his head off and just goes, I aim for the head.
Yeah, that was
not only a great callback there, but it's also more layered, because the dialogue is great in this movie, where when that happened in Infinity War, Thor is the one screaming to Thanos, what did you do when that happens? Now, when he cut off the head and said, oh, I went for the head, the rest of his Avengers team was screaming, what did you do?
Right.
Because they weren't planning on killing him there. Maybe there was something they could have got out of him.
Yeah.
So, like, there's a lot of these little callbacks and tie-ins to previous movies that I really loved. And then we fast forward 5 years, and talking specifically about Thor, we see that it's hit him the hardest.
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, Hawkeye out there, he's killing people, right? But at least he's doing things that are good, even though they're bad, right?
Yep.
Thor is just, he don't care. He don't care. He's drinking. He's gotten fat. He's not even. He made a new Asgard, right? So in the comics, Asgard, they bring it at one point. It floats in the sky over Oklahoma in the comic books. This, I figured they were going to do the Norway kind of thing, because that's where Odin said in Ragnarok, this could be Asgard. Remember this place, right? He exactly does that, and it's not floating in the sky yet, but he makes it a nice, Norwegian town there.
Yep.
But he's not ruling it. Valkyrie is, as you see that as he even gives her the leadership at the end. He's completely lost himself.
Yeah.
It's great comedic moments with the Fortnite stuff. Like, God knows how much they paid for that sponsorship to be in the movie, and to have, like, oh, look, Korg and Meek are here. Like, they're around. They live the snap. They didn't die on the ship because, we didn't see them in Infinity War. But to show how low he got, and how it took beer to convince him to get on the ship and go. And the thing that really started him somewhat to come back was the amazing scene with his mother.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about a cameo that I did not think was going to happen. First of all, in my opinion, and in many people's opinions, going back to the worst movie probably in the MCU in Thor: The Dark World, right? Probably the worst movie.
Yeah.
So we go back to that, okay? And then to bring back Rene Russo, to not like, oh, it's not like Natalie Portman where they like edited it around her. She actually wasn't there to film it. Those are all shots from Thor: The Dark World, just beautifully edited by them.
I didn't know that one.
Rene Russo came back for the movie to have scenes with Thor, and that was the moment that I almost teared up. Anything what usually moms gets me, and to have something so unexpected that I can never predict it was great. And for her to immediately know, like, yes, son, I've been raised by witches. I know you're not from this timeline. What happened to your eyes? Because he has the 2 different colored eyes and stuff like that. I loved all those scenes there.
Yeah.
And that's what spurred him to realize, okay, well, I need to get off my fat ass, and I need to get back into this battle.
And on top of that, of course it is. It's the day that his mother died.
Yeah, and she didn't want to know.
She didn't want to know.
Because she understood, she accepted her part of that. This is the timeline, and that's supposed to be left like that for a reason.
Yeah.
And then to have at the end, where, like, they make a joke like, oh, it takes a couple seconds when he's going for the hammer. That's not just about bringing the hammer to the present and having, Cap lift and stuff like that. I love how shocked he is when he goes, I'm still worthy.
Yeah.
After everything and how low he got, and where he wasn't, he wasn't taking care of his Asgardians, that he is still shocked that I am still a good person. And that spurs him on more, that I am worthy to still lift this. All that. Thor, what an amazing character arc he's had since Ragnarok. I mean, it's amazing.
One scene with Thor and Cap that I love is when they throw like the hammer and Stormbreaker, and Cap catches Stormbreaker, and he's like, no, you get the small one.
Yeah,
and he takes it back
absolutely
from him. I love that. I also love that, like, Cap was worthy of the hammer, so you don't even know if he's worthy of Stormbreaker technically. Like, you don't know he can catch it, and he just catches it. He's like, no.
Yeah.
You get the small one.
It was Thor, I would say, is probably one of my favorite characters in the last few movies. I would say. If we go character by character, I feel like we should do it.
I was very, very skeptical of how he was going to turn out in the movie when I saw where he was when they first got to him.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, hey, boys. Like, it looked like they were like, a college house with stuff all over the place, playing video games, like just doing nothing. I'm like, what is going on? Like, because like obviously it hit him hard, but you're like, how is he going to like play a part in this? Yep. Like, is he just going to be sitting there the whole time as a comedic relief, or is he actually going to like, have some part in the fight?
He got serious when he needed to.
Well, that's what I mean. And that's like, that was one of the things where I was like, I have no idea how they're going to turn him around. Yeah. Because of the way he looked. It was like, all right. Like,
oh my God, that scene where he's standing out there and and Cap and Tony walk up to him and he's just like, oh, what is Thanos doing? He's just sitting there. And then just like, oh, like you guys ready? Like you're agreeing on killing him? All right, that's all I needed to hear. Boom. Both hammers come toward him. His eyes light up with lightning and it crackles in the sky. Yeah. One of my favorite moments as well.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I guess, we'll jump around to characters in different scenes and you guys could always jump in. But let's talk about one of the characters that's probably done in Cap.
Yeah.
How do you feel at the end of Endgame? Not even talking just about the end, but his whole character arc through all these movies and what he did in Endgame. Do you like it? Do you not? Like, how are you feeling about Cap?
I love Cap. Like, I think almost, I don't want to say everything he does I like, because like obviously there's like things here and there, but I feel like he has the most like, not like necessarily callbacks, but people always like call him out on stuff, or like there's always a reference to something with him, and I think it's great. And like, even when they're back in the other time and he's fighting himself, he's like, "Oh, come on!" Like,
he knows. Like, goes, "I could do this all day." I know.
He knows how he is. Yeah. So when he does that, he's like, "Oh, you got to be kidding!" Like, because he knows his other self isn't going to give up. Like, he's going to take himself to the grave if he has to get to take him down. Especially when he sees the picture, and he's like, "Where did you get this?"
Yeah. That was awesome.
That whole thing, even when he's, and like you were saying with the elevator scene, where he goes in, he's just like, Hail Hydra. I love that.
A perfect callback to Winter Soldier, because in Winter Soldier, he's the only one on the elevator. Everyone enters the elevator with him. Everyone's on the elevator in this, and he's the only one that enters. And still says the Rumlow, like, which is Crossbones. Like, it was exactly a callback to that, which was obviously still done by the Russo brothers.
Yeah.
And to have those moments of doing the whole Hail Hydra and for him to go, Bucky's alive to his other self, to get out of that situation, like all those moments. I mean, the callbacks with Cap, amazing. He might have some of the best references in the entire franchise.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, to me, he is the face of the Avengers. I've always
more than Tony.
More than Tony.
Okay, fair enough.
I've always viewed it that way personally.
Tony's called him the leader. He's the leader.
He's always been the top guy, in my opinion. People will probably disagree with that, and that's completely fine. I understand if people feel Iron Man is the top, but he's just the face. When I think of what an Avenger is, it's Captain America, 100%.
That's well
just
said.
Honest, genuine, ethical. Always doing the right thing, and that is exactly what Captain America is. And I feel like he's the most like down to earth of all of them,
right?
Too.
Yeah,
and
I do feel that.
I love
Most
about
human,
the most human, and he's got the humor, and he's just awesome. I've always loved Captain America, and the whole America's ass joke was hilarious.
It's one of the best jokes in the entire movie.
Absolutely,
because it plays into Ant-Man's character of like, he's been sucking up to Cap ever since he met him in Civil War. Yeah. So everything Cap's going to say, if Tony has a snarky comment back, he's going to back up Cap every single time.
Yep.
It's just be like, oh, Tony to go, oh, that Avengers suit there, that first one really didn't do your ass any favors, Cap. As far as I'm concerned, that's America's ass. Like,
I love how he goes back to it, and he's like, that is America's ass.
When he knocks out his old self. He was just incredible.
Absolutely great job by Chris Evans, who, at first he turned down the role of Captain America. He did Human Torch back in the day, and it was kind of not great Fantastic Four movies in the mid-2000s. And for him to eventually agree to take this role, and where he's really gone since the second Cap movie till now, probably might be one of my favorite arcs in the entire MCU.
Yeah.
And to have him and Tony and Scott being the guys that the three of them were off on their little mission there to the first Avengers movie, I mean, come on. Did you see all the references that we had in all the callbacks? We see scenes that are, I guess, canon, right? We would say that we didn't see before. We didn't see what happened after we arrested Loki. But we now know that the strike team and Alexander Pierce, we get a Robert Redford cameo in this movie. Didn't see that coming. And that Hydra was actively involved to get 2 stones then. They knew what they were doing then.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how, I guess, we don't see the ending in the scene because things change because they give Tony a heart attack there. But Thor was able to convince them because he's Thor that, I'm taking the Tesseract and Loki, so good luck because he does that.
But also, Loki escapes.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, because that was bizarre.
But we do know now how Hydra and Baron Strucker at the end of Winter Soldier and then into Age of Ultron got the scepter. They took it right there after the Battle of New York.
Right.
So we see how that happened. We see, the very funny thing of Hulk climbing the stairs and the weight capacity. All that stuff was really great there. But I love those little references to the Battle of New York. To go back, and probably might be my second favorite cameo in the entire movie, Tilda Swinton. They bring back the ancient one from Doctor Strange.
Yeah, that was great.
Who saw that coming?
And she had like a full-on 5-minute conversation.
And it makes complete sense that why wouldn't she be in the Battle of New York? She literally is on Bleecker Street in New York. Yep. Why wouldn't she be involved in a global threat
And
we
had no idea that she was involved.
No idea. But now we do.
Yeah.
And to have that whole great conversation with Bruce and and to push him into the whatever the plane was that basically sends his soul out. Yeah. But then the thing that convinces her
that Strange
is saying Strange. She knew the future. She always knew that Strange was going to be the Sorcerer Supreme. She always said that she could see way into the future, way into the past. She's been alive for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And to that be the convince of, he's the best of us. And I'll give it to you then.
Yep.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, if he did it, it must have been for a reason.
It was such a turnaround. Because, like, you're sitting there like, all right, how the hell is he going to pull this off? And he's like, Doctor Strange just gave it to them. And she's like, wait.
Yeah, like willingly?
Wait, hold on. Here you go.
Yeah.
Take that.
Yeah, right. And it makes sense because she wouldn't, even if she can see into the future, she dies before all the Thanos stuff happens.
Yeah.
So she wouldn't, even if she can read the future, she wouldn't know that happened.
One of my favorite scenes in the MCU, her and Doctor Strange when she dies.
She was a great Doctor Strange was a great movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie there, but to have a callback that I never thought we'd see that character again, or if we did, it would be in a flashback scene in a Doctor Strange movie. Yeah. To tie her back into the first Avengers, and it makes complete sense. Like, nobody, at least I didn't, nobody thought like, I wonder what she was doing. She lives in New York during the Battle of New York. That was in the timeline where she was the Sorcerer Supreme. Well, now we know she definitely was there fighting against Loki's army the same as everyone else, except she does it on a way more low-key level.
Yeah.
You don't know she even exists. She protects dimensions, not just New York. So
freaking amazing.
Their scene of Mark Ruffalo's acting there, Tilda Swinton, fantastic. Love that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other likes we could talk about. That final battle.
We haven't even gotten into Nebula and Gamora.
Do you want to jump into Nebula?
I mean, yeah, sure.
Well, let's jump into Nebula and Gamora's story.
Yeah.
How you feeling about it?
I liked it, but
she's almost the linchpin in the movie. In a way.
Oh, she is. Well, she's the reason that Thanos is able to almost win again.
Yeah.
I didn't really make I guess because she's artificial intelligence to a degree.
Yeah.
It kind of made sense that he in the past could see the future of what was happening.
It's somehow, because they both existed in 2014 at that point, it was able to relay through her head.
The way I thought of it, and this is just me trying to think of it as something in like today's time, is like 2 computers on the same IP address. They're both in the same universe. They both are on the same network.
Yeah.
So you can get stuff from by, say, hacking from one computer to the other because you're sharing the same network.
That's fair.
That's the way I just tried to relate.
No. I think that's
so
good.
because he's like, wait, can you you can see her thoughts, and when that thing pops through her head, like the image of them talking, it's like, okay. So if they can see it one way, they could also see it the other way too. So it was,
and it sucks for Nebula though, and Gamora in that case, because that's how they got screwed in Infinity War. When she was like, "Oh, I don't know where the Soul Stone is," and then you have a recording of Gamora saying, "I know where the Soul Stone is," and Nebula has that because that's just how she's made. That's what Thanos did to her.
It was smart,
and so I thought that was not okay. That's how he finds out. No, that made sense actually.
Yeah, no,
you have to think about it a little bit of how do those two connect.
Yeah,
but it makes sense that it is Nebula.
The one thing with their characters that I didn't love, I loved when the future Nebula was able to convince Gamora, like, we have to stop your father.
Right.
She probably maybe told her off camera, like, what happens, because I think Gamora asked.
Yeah, because she said, do you want to know how you died?
Yeah. So, and then when Gamora probably realized that her father is capable, because I think maybe in 2014, the wheels weren't turning as much as, like, I need to stop him, but I think they were still planted.
It was turning more for Gamora, because if you remember back to the first Guardian, she had a whole idea to sell the Power Stone at the time and betray Thanos.
That's right.
So she was trying to, Nebula was more loyal at that point.
Yeah, you're right.
She was trying to get out.
And that's why Nebula goes into the future and leads Thanos to them. Yeah, you're right. So it made sense from that perspective. The one thing that didn't make a lot of sense to me was when Gamora just vanished at the end of the movie, because I would have thought that the Gamora, obviously the Gamora from Infinity War is dead, but the Gamora from this past that's now in the present, I would have thought she would have stayed with Nebula and stayed with the Guardians, because where else is she going to go? Now she's by herself.
Right.
So that was her disappearing, and then at the end, of course, you see Quill looking for her, which is probably going to lead into Guardians 3. That kind of confused me, because I would have thought that Gamora, who has no one left at this point, so wouldn't she stay with Nebula?
I have 2 thoughts on that.
Yeah.
So one is she doesn't actually know who Quill is yet. She doesn't know
she
who
makes
the
that clear.
Yeah,
right.
she
Oh, no,
doesn't know who
no,
they are.
absolutely.
So why? So she wouldn't stay with the Guardians.
But she would stay with Nebula, who stays with the Guardians.
But what if she's just like, I'm getting the hell out of here because I didn't want any part of this to begin with. I don't know who these people are. Everybody else that I know that I didn't want to be with is gone.
Yeah,
or she disappeared like everybody else. Because she's technically dead in our time.
Right, I guess, she is dead.
So then
maybe
if all the others died of, like, fighting on Thanos' side, if she's technically not alive anymore, that version of her is gone too.
Well, but everyone else that was not... Well, I guess because maybe she died via the Soul Stone and not the Snap, there might be a difference there. Because everyone else that died is back. There was no one else
but they didn't die. The Soul Stone... Like,
right,
for instance,
Vision has stayed dead. Yeah, that's true.
Vision stayed dead, and obviously Black Widow is dead from the Soul Stone. But then that brings to the picture... Say Guardians 3, right? They find Gamora.
Yeah.
She's alive. So can they get Black Widow back too?
Right, but is that the Gamora from the past that went to the future, or is that the Soul Stone dead Gamora?
Great question.
So this is my theory.
Gamora was that was the one that was a little weird. Not that it was bad, it was just strange.
I have nothing to support this. This is just my theory. But this is my thoughts. Ready?
Yeah.
So there's 2 options there.
Okay.
There's one that when Tony does his final snap at the end, and it gets rid of Thanos and all his people that are connected to him.
Oh.
Right? It's either Gamora at that point, for whatever reason, I don't know how Tony would have known, she's good at this point, she flipped. So she's not included in the snap. She does take off because she's confused about everything going on.
Yeah.
And so that's why Peter's looking for her. She's out there in the universe.
That's what I think.
Or she does get snapped because she is part of Thanos' team.
Right.
Now, this is how you get, in my opinion, how you get out of the loophole. Okay. Our Gamora that we knew since in actual 2014 when Guardians won, she's dead.
Yeah,
right.
I agree
That's
with
gone.
that.
Can't get her back. That's how you're not going to get Natasha back.
Yep.
But that's not the Gamora here anymore. This Gamora is 2014 Gamora that went 9 years into the future into 2023. That's the Gamora we last see.
And she exists on this
They
timeline,
make clearly, even though there's a lot of little contradictions and plot holes and things like that we need to watch it many more times, get a director's commentary, maybe they'll explain in Far From Home, all that stuff.
Okay.
Let's not even consider that right now. She jumps 9 years into the future. If that Gamora got snapped along with Thanos' people, then the Soul Stone thing could be brought on in the sense that she's on a plane in the Soul Stone where we saw little baby Gamora, little child Gamora in Infinity War. Remember,
Right,
that scene happens. We never get any... No one ever talks about it.
Yeah.
It never happens
That's
again.
a great
we
point.
never see that plane ever again in this entire movie, which is what I thought we were going to. I don't think that's a coincidence.
How did Thanos got to that scene right after he snapped?
Right after he snapped and then came back and he teleported out.
So
when
I,
Thor said what
I
he
wonder
did.
if Tony visited that realm.
There, you could either have... Well, not even Soul Stone Gamora that died, but now the Gamora that maybe got snapped, that was part of Thanos' army, she's there. And now there's a way that Nebula and the rest of the team in Guardians 3 can go into the Soul Plane and get her out. Because she's not dead via the Soul Stone in this way. Or now 2014 Gamora died via snap.
Yeah.
So now there might be a way to revive her.
back,
And then it opens up the possibility, can you revive everyone, including Thanos and blah, blah, blah. We'll have to see what they do there. I would kind of actually like if they did just, I don't know why they didn't show this scene to build tension for Guardians 3, but like if she didn't get snapped because she flipped onto our side, somehow Tony knew that, and she just left. And now they're literally looking for her in Guardians 3. And that's our new Gamora.
I think I like your first theory better because I have trouble believing that she would leave Nebula's side.
Yeah.
That's just the only
But it
issue
is
I have.
weird, I will say, regardless of either scene, as far as I know, and you correct me if I'm wrong, when they're all disappearing Thanos' army, we don't get anything about Gamora. We don't see her disappearing.
No,
we don't see her leaving. I thought that was very odd that you just kind of left that out.
Yeah.
And even if Peter doesn't have the connection to her in the same way because she doesn't have it to him, it still means something to him seeing her die again if that happened.
Yeah.
Or Nebula watching it this time.
Nebula would be right next to her.
Really weird scene
Yeah.
why
I
that
think
never happened.
the only reason it doesn't get shown is because of Guardians.
It's got to be some build up to Guardians.
And they will fill us in.
Yeah.
I'm positive on
that searching scene there at the end is for a reason.
Absolutely.
But all their characters, and then Nebula shooting, past Nebula, and all that stuff. I loved a lot.
I definitely think though that the route of 2014 Gamora is still alive somewhere, but the one obviously, if the one that died via Soul Stone is dead, you die via the Soul Stone, you're dead. You're not coming back. Doesn't matter. Like no Black Widow, no Gamora. They're both gone forever.
Yeah.
But that 2014 Gamora, since she existed in this timeline because they traveled to the future, now exists, but as 2014. So she doesn't know Quill. She doesn't know the Guardians. She doesn't know that whole
Which could
that
be
whole
very
scene.
interesting that, like, let's say in Guardians 3, we get her, like, halfway through the movie, let's say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now she has to meet everyone again. Assuming that the soul plane somehow doesn't give her all her memories or some BS like that.
Yeah.
And now Peter, almost kind of 50 First Dates like, has to make
50 First
her
Dates.
fall in
Good
love with
movie
him
reference.
all over again.
Good movie
Because
reference.
she doesn't know who he is, but he has all these memories of what they were.
Yeah.
And I think that could be very interesting storytelling.
Absolutely.
So we'll see where those characters go. I think the other big character that, Dill, we have to get to, we need to talk about Tony.
Sure.
It's been pretty well documented if you've been watching these reviews for 3-4 years now. Dylan's not the biggest Tony Stark fan. I will say, though, you will have your say in how you were feeling when he died. But for me, it was a great way to end his story. You kind of knew, as we said at the beginning, as you said, that it was either Cap or Tony, kind of both of them in a way.
Yeah.
But one of them had to definitively die. It just made sense. They've been the two starting kind of lead faces of Civil War, of the Avengers. We're now transitioning it into a new hero age. And if you don't kill them or make Cap really old or something like that, you're always going to wonder if you have a new Avengers lineup 3 years down the line. Oh, well, why didn't Iron Man come save the day? He's dead. It's over.
Yeah.
Move past it. Avengers has had hundreds of characters on the roster before. That part's over.
Yep.
The original 6 are gone. Natasha's dead. Clint's with his family. We don't know what Professor Hulk there, which is what Bruce became in this movie, is doing. Those characters are gone now. Thor's with the Guardians. The original 6 are done.
Yeah.
That's the end of that. And to have him be the godfather of this universe since 2008, to have all the callbacks, especially to 2008, when he's having his funeral there, and to have his little, proof that Tony Stark has a heart from the first Iron Man movie, where Pepper made that for him.
Yep.
Those are amazing callbacks. And if you see there, you have all the people at his funeral, right? And it kind of goes from the people that cared about him the most or at the front, all the way back to like lesser people that didn't really know him, like a Carol. Well, you get your classic
Black Panther.
Yeah, you get your classic Nick Fury that, of course, he has to be the last guy in the back, even though he knows him, right?
Yeah.
But there's one character right on the right side towards the back. It's a one boy standing by himself. Now, I want to ask you, do you know who that character is? It's one single boy standing by himself with no other people, kind of a teenage boy. He's got some long curly
I know exactly
hair.
who you're talking
I
about,
don't even remember.
and I have no idea who that is.
So a lot of people have this question. And so then I was like, I bet it's that. Looked it up, and they confirmed it is. You know who that boy is?
Who?
Remember in Iron Man 3, the little boy, he took care of Harley? And when he gave him all the toys at the end, and he helped him through his PTSD, that little kid.
Yes.
He ended up, I think that actor ended up going on to Jurassic World
Yes,
and all
yes,
that other
yes.
stuff.
Yes,
Oh, that's
yes.
okay.
That's him grown up.
Wow.
And so he was there at the end, too, of
Didn't leave anything
Tony,
out.
of Tony having
Jeez.
an impact on his life that,
Yeah.
like, I don't think it was that exact actor, but that was him aged up,
Yeah.
basically.
Okay.
And so he was there. So you had
Jeez.
everyone that
Wow.
was monumental to Tony's life to Robert Downey Jr.'s story here over all of these movies, and to have that scene of him make the callback to the original Iron Man, I am Iron Man, boom, does the snap. He tricks Thanos, the guy that's been in his head since 2012, like he said. The visions he had in Age of Ultron when Scarlet Witch was on the bad side, and given the vision of all of them dying, Earth being invaded, that happened. Yep. Seeing Cap's shield completely broken, that happened. We see that all in this movie, and he's the one to save everyone. And he has those final moments there with especially Pepper and Peter.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a perfect way to end his character, to end everything, and her to go, Tony, you can rest now. Yeah. And that was that. It was just great.
I loved him with his daughter was awesome. Like
it was great scenes.
It was a very like humanizing part for him because like you said, the Iron Man has a heart, like Tony has a heart thing, like all that. It all connects.
I love you 3000.
Yeah, I love you 3000. And with her having the mask on, he's like, I made that for your mother, but she doesn't wear anything I make anyway. And then she just comes out in the suit,
in the rescue suit.
Comes in.
That was great.
That was awesome because that was honestly that wasn't something I expected to happen.
No, the two of them fighting together, that was awesome.
That was a really cool scene. Although, as soon as that scene happened, I'm like, Iron Man's dead.
You knew it.
As soon as she came out, I'm like, damn it, like it's him. Like he's definitely gone. But I mean, they didn't miss a thing with Tony Stark.
They really did.
Absolutely
not that I
did
can
not
think
miss
of.
a thing. I thought it was perfect.
I mean, Rhodey was there. Everybody that was necessary to his life that was really there. Happy there at the end, and now he's going to be the one that takes care of his daughter, and then going, hey, honey, what would you like to eat? Cheeseburger. Your dad liked cheeseburgers. That was the first thing he said he wanted to eat when he came out of the cave in the first Iron Man. Yep. Stop at McDonald's or whatever it was. I want 2 cheeseburgers. And he's eating them at the first press conference. We tied everything perfectly
and he's
together.
like, I'll get you as many cheeseburgers as you want.
Like it was beautiful. It was great.
Even the scene where they travel back to the 70s.
With his dad? Oh my God. I forgot that actor's name, but to bring back
it was
that version of Howard Stark.
Perfect for him.
Oh my God, awesome!
If you are told as an actor you're going to die in a movie, you can't have a better written movie and death scene than Tony Stark's
and to know
death.
that his dad was very tough on him, and he always said he was very cold. But to know that his dad was scared but so excited and proud to have him even before he was born,
Yep, that
was beautiful scene.
Well, he even said he's like I haven't even had my kid yet, but I know I would do anything for him. Yeah. And then Tony's looks like he's gonna get choked up. Like he looks like he's ready to cry.
He couldn't blow his cover though. But them going in there and getting the Tesseract, but to have him interact with Howard, obviously Cap interacting or seeing Peggy there was great.
Yeah,
and that ties back to later in the movie. But that whole Howard scene was so long, and a great reference in there as well. When goes to the car, the driver for Howard Stark is Jarvis.
Jarvis, yep.
And now, originally in the original comics, Jarvis wasn't an AI yet. He originally was the butler of Howard Stark. That's how it started. That is the same actor that is called Jarvis, that is the butler in Agent Carter, the TV show that's in the MCU. And it's, as far as I can remember, the first time that the movies reference the TV show and not the other way around.
That's pretty awesome.
Because this wasn't like Coulson, who was in the movies and then went to TV. This is a character that originated in TV and went to the movies. It upgraded. Yeah. So that was a great little tie in there too.
I loved the Jarvis call out though. He was like, Jarvis, you know who that is? And I immediately looked at Nick T and I was like, Jarvis? like that's him.
That was awesome. I also like just to have the last Stan Lee cameo in that 70s scene, and from the peace, and not war and stuff like that. And I didn't catch this the first time, but I looked it up. Apparently, there's a bumper sticker on the car that just says "Nuff said," so it's almost like just a fitting end. Like that. That's all Stan Lee needed to do. And all these movies, even not in the MCU, that he's been cameoing in for all these years.
Yep.
What a tribute to Stan Lee, and what a send off there. I absolutely love that. And we get a reference there at the end. If you stayed all the way to the end of the credits, it's a little nod to Iron Man there where you hear the clanking of when he was making the first Iron Man suit. Mm-hmm. That was a really nice tribute. Little quick thing that was great.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you feel though, Dill, about him dying though after all the problems you've had with him? Are you still sad about it?
No, look, listen. I first of all, I think there's a big disparity in what you guys believe. How I
do you want me to pull up the clips of it and edit it in right here?
You can pull up the clips. I think as a human being, he's a bit of a jackass, but I think as a character,
I would think he'd say that.
Yeah, I think as a character, he's a great character. I've never said he was a horrible character and oh my god he ruins the Avengers. I think he's an amazing character. I just don't like him because I don't like him not because I think he's a bad character.
Did this movie humanize him for you?
Oh, definitely. I thought he was great in this movie. And to see him with his daughter, I feel like that's one of the probably most humanizing ways that you can show off someone being a parent and caring for a kid and having that kind of relationship with your kid and seeing how much his kid in this case respects and admires him. And it is kind of, again, pulls on those heartstrings when he does die and you realize that from his daughter's perspective, she's never going to have those moments with him.
Yeah.
He lived those moments. He was able to experience that to a degree before he died. She never will. When you look at it from that point of view, it is
I like to
sad.
imagine that just as the hologram he left her at the end, I like to think that he recorded a lot more of those that she could watch later in
it's
her
definitely
life.
possible. And he was so tech savvy that it probably is the case. It probably is canon. You could make that argument. But his death scene was amazing. Almost every scene he was in was amazing. So a character we didn't talk about that I loved in this movie because they didn't overuse her. And had they overused her, it could have gotten very Superman-esque where it's almost like there's not that much tension with Superman. And my brother always says that because he's just so powerful. Is Captain Marvel. And when he's about to die at the very beginning of the movie and then Captain Marvel shows up and saves him. That was awesome. Captain Marvel destroying Thanos' entire ship. That was awesome.
Yeah.
But then again, when she went head to head with Thanos, she didn't win.
She held back the gauntlet of all 6 stones, so it shows her power.
Absolutely.
But how he was able to
headbutt her.
He drops the power stone out and blasts her.
Yeah.
Like that was great because I love Carol. And if you haven't been watching this channel, I'm the biggest Captain Marvel.
I'm just glad they didn't use her as a complete cop out.
They didn't use her as a cop out there, and I like that they stayed. And it might cause people to be a little prickly if you don't like the character of like. Carol's overeager. She's over aggressive. Okay, she's always going to think that she's the deciding factor. It's just how she is.
Yep.
And being one of the more powerful characters in Marvel, you're probably not going against a lot of people that you can't beat the crap out of, right?
Yeah,
so you get
I
confident in 25 plus years, right? To have a moment where maybe she got shrunk a little bit down to size of Thanos hitting her up, and she's pretty much out for the count after that. You get a little bit of like her taking the glove later, and from Peter and the whole women's scene and things like that. But that scene there I love because you get right from the beginning where she comes down and she's like, oh, well, last time you didn't have me. And then, Rhodey's like, well, hold on, Space Lady. Like, she is a little bit too much sometimes. But her
personality.
One of my favorite things, though, of just like he's doing the strike or whatever and the guns turn up and they're like, something just entered the upper atmosphere. I'm like, here she comes.
Oh, yeah.
And just to blast everything was awesome. That was one of my favorite moments of the movie.
Great scene. Not to get off the Tony Stark topic, but I didn't really have too much to add. I thought it was amazing.
I will say that one of my favorite scenes in the movie regarding Tony Stark is actually when he comes back. And how, he's obviously
angry.
He's on the IV, and him and Cap have their first face-to-face interaction in, 2 years?
Yeah.
2+ years? And for him to show and make callbacks to Age of Ultron and Civil War of how mad he is.
Yep.
That, look, Cap, whatever side you come down, and I was on Team Cap, Tony's point there was, I told you we needed a suit of armor around the world. Remember when you all told me I was crazy? Look what happened. Half the universe is dead. Remember when you left and it was all about, this freedom or that because we couldn't fall in line? Remember when you left us and like how he gets so pissed to the point that he literally passes out.
Yeah.
He rips an IV out of his arm. That scene there where Steve was letting him have it, too, because he went through all the things. He actually fought Thanos in Infinity War more than anybody else. And to have that scene where Steve took everything, being the character he is, he took it all in, he understood because, remember the last time these two met and were together, Steve's best friend was revealed that he killed Tony's parents. And Steve knew that for good amount of years and never said anything to him. There's a lot of animosity that built up there, and I'm glad that was not skipped over, that scene happened.
Yeah.
Those are my favorites in the movie.
Great scene.
Tony wrapped up well, and just even him tinkering in the middle of the movie, where it's just being the guy he is, being the futurist he is, of he couldn't once he heard the quantum realm time travel stuff. He couldn't let it go.
Yeah.
He couldn't let it go.
Yep.
He had to keep seeing if there was a way to do it. And like he's playing with the popsicle stick there, but it's like I have a way. And being like, I don't know if I should do it, and Pepper being like, you have to. Like,
keep you up at night if you
like
don't.
that's the only way that you need to try to do this, even if it means risking everything. Which obviously he ended up dying because of it.
Yeah.
And he would be alive with his family today. And Pepper's willing to accept that happened because he was the hero that he always has been.
Yeah.
And that would have always nagged at him. He's always been the guy to try to tinker and be the futurist. Well, this has been your ultimate challenge. You need to finish it.
Yeah, I love when he's like trying to figure it out too. He's like, "Oh, let me just try one more thing. Maybe if I do this, it's probably not going to work." And then it's like successful, and he's like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, I think he
And
said
like,
what, holy shit or whatever, and his daughter was there.
His daughter pops down. She's like, "Shit," and he goes, "No."
You just see his relationship with his daughter there. Whoever that little actress was, that was great.
I wonder if like that's like his actual daughter.
I don't know.
Was
I have
that
no idea.
Dakota Fanning? No, someone said that was
she's
her.
way too
She's
old.
way
I
older.
think she's like our age.
Yeah.
Yeah, life comes at you fast.
Or when she's sitting on, she comes on his lap and goes, "Mommy told me to come save you," and she's like, "Yeah, you're not, you're not saving me very well."
That was good. The Love You 3000's been going on.
Yeah.
I love the line when he goes, "Go to bed, I'll sell all your toys."
Yeah.
It just fits so well with his character.
Yeah.
And a kid that it's someone you see Tony in 2008. When first Iron Man starts, you're not going to be like, yeah, that character is going to have a family and a kid.
No.
Yeah.
He's had quite a character arc.
Absolutely.
Any other characters you really want to talk about? I mean, do you want to talk about any more about Clint? I feel like we've covered Natasha.
The only one that kind of missed the mark for me for whatever reason was Ant-Man. I don't know. Ant-Man
didn't like it. You didn't think it was terrifying. Come back after 5 years.
Well, I thought that scene was very well done, but I thought the scene of Clint was better with his family from his perspective. Then again, I guess a little bit different. I did like how he was locked in that like
the storage unit.
The storage unit, and the security
rat
guy comes and gets him out and like escorts him out of the premise. Like that was really funny.
The rat's the real hero.
Yeah. And but yeah, his character was I don't know, a lot of his lines were just very missed to me, like a lot of his humor, and he's very like giddy. Not giddy, but very
he's just
like,
excited to be an Avenger.
That's exactly what it is, and I understand and respect it. But then again, Ant-Man and the Wasp didn't really do it for me. That was probably one of my least favorite movies. So I don't know, maybe it's just that character that doesn't really do it for me personally. But I also think it's no coincidence that we kind of even forgot to mention his character until probably an
I did
hour
like
in.
his lines, like we talked about Captain, that's America's ass and all that.
That was a
I
good
like
one.
Ant-Man as a character.
Yeah.
I like that he's trying to convince Tony on the porch that I lost someone too, and talking about really Hope Van Dyne there in Evangeline Lilly the Wasp.
Yeah.
Like he was key on that, and I actually thought the scene finding his daughter's alive and that she's 5 years older now, which
That
she
was a
looked
good
like
scene.
it was way more than 5 years, but
Yeah,
whatever.
she was our age.
but that you have to forgive that in acting, but I thought that was actually a great scene.
Yeah.
Of like that he's searching for his daughter amongst the please don't be Cassie among the tombstones. We would assume his ex-wife and her husband survived the snap. If they didn't, they're back, I would imagine now.
Yeah.
But there's probably going to be an Ant-Man and the Wasp, I would imagine, another movie sequel, Ant-Man 3, whatever you want to call it. I actually really dug his character, and he is the guy that is almost like us if we join the Avengers. Like he can't believe he's there.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
So
that's true.
I liked it.
Yeah.
I think he's not. I understand if you say like he missed the mark and he wasn't like extremely vital in what they needed to get done, but he brought like a different, like you said, like almost like this is how other people would react if they were in his situation.
Yeah.
Like he didn't really. He's not an Avenger. He's not one of those original six. He's not one of these, like, crazy. I mean, you don't look at him and think, like, this is a crazy superhero until, like, he grows to be, like, 30 feet tall and he's running around.
That was a great Giant Man scene.
Yeah, but, like, I think, I like his humor just because it's almost like he just uses like quick wit, or like he'll just say something out of nowhere, and sometimes it's really stupid and sometimes it's really funny.
Yeah, a lot
really
of it
don't
for me
know.
just missed.
I feel like he's a
fair.
lesser Deadpool in the way of his comedy.
Yeah. I like, going in a time heist.
Yeah.
Going back to the first Ant-Man that he was all about heists. I like that.
But I had nothing wrong with him.
No,
I didn't hate him.
Yeah.
He was
and
very
bringing back
unmemorable.
bringing back the van there at the end, and him and Wasp having their reunion scene,
That
and
was nice,
that
yeah.
do like
Yeah.
clicking it after the the first one, the newer one, got destroyed when Thanos just blew up everything, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And then to have the van somehow survived in this huge crater. I thought those moments were great, and I really liked him turning into Giant Man and punching that worm flying thing of the Chitauri army from the first Avengers.
He hooks it right in the face.
Yeah, he really nailed it for me. Even the little connections of when he's part of Steve and Cap going back to the first Avengers, going, oh, how did you? Those guys look evil. Oh, we didn't know they were Hydra at the time. He's also one of the characters that's been directly associated with in his first movie. He deals with Hydra agents, they're part of it too. So. It's all those little things that make this universe work so well when they connect it. And I really love that stuff. And I will say another scene I liked, jumping back to Clint Barton, that he's the one, not Scott, that decides to go back to see if it works when they're doing the test run. And he almost sees his daughter. He hears her, and then he gets sucked back before that happens.
Yeah,
those emotional things.
oh
man!
And she hears him call her name. She comes back, and she's like, "Dad."
Yeah.
And she's looking around, but he's gone. Yeah.
And he was the guy when all this started. Especially him and Natasha, but that was not about these gods among men. And he was the guy that he didn't know what was going on, and he's a guy with a bow, like he says in Age of Ultron, fighting an army of robots in a city floating in the sky. None of this makes sense.
Yeah.
He's the most human character out of them, and for him he went through so much that he'll be like, I'll do it.
Yeah.
He knows what he's going to see there if it works, and he's willing to go through that emotional pain because, hey, it works, and I want that back.
Yeah.
So I'll do anything to get it back.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ugh, even the the baby scene with Ant-Man, he turns into an old man, a baby when they're testing it.
Yeah.
No, it didn't work for you.
I mean, I thought that scene was kind of funny. I thought it was maybe a little.
He's so out of place. You don't see that they're making fun of him when he's trying to eat outside the tacos, and they're like, "Yeah, watch when you come down, Rhodey. There's some idiot eating out here."
No.
He's so out of place.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought.
And he comes back and he's like, I think baby me peed myself, or maybe it was older me. Or it might have just been me.
Yeah.
I thought it was really funny, and I guess the last character to talk about original Six wise is, how'd you feel about Hulk in this movie? How'd you feel about Professor Hulk, Bruce Banner? He spends 18 months in a gamma lab and he mixes the best of both worlds. We've seen this in the comic book, and to do that in this movie, I didn't think they were going to do that, and they did. How you feeling about it?
I've never been huge on Hulk to begin with, but one of my favorite scenes of his is when they go back in time. This is when they fail, when the same scene with the stairs.
Yeah.
But when they first get there and they go outside and he sees Hulk just smashing shit, running through the streets, and they're like, "Come on, man, smash something." So he walks in the streets and he's like, "Ugh,
this is so over the top."
Grr, and he's just barely punching things. That to me was funny because it's it shows he doesn't have that same rage anymore.
No,
but he still looks like a freaking beast.
Yeah, he's got the intelligence of Bruce now.
Yeah. So he's just walking around. And he's like, "Yeah, no, I don't really want to hit anything right now." That was the one scene of mine that I thoroughly enjoyed of his. But besides that, and I guess putting on the gauntlet. But again, I wasn't spoiled that. But as soon as he says it, he's like, "Look, I was made for this." It's
it had gamma
makes
radiation.
Sense,
Yeah.
It makes sense. But to me, I feel like he's one of the original six, but I just feel like his role isn't that as strong as everyone else.
I feel like his role in these two movies, in Infinity War and Endgame, was drastically reduced.
Absolutely.
And not to a good way.
No.
I like Hulk as a character, and I like Bruce Banner. He plays, obviously, the alter egos there. You combine both of them now, and I feel like, especially in the key battle scenes, he really doesn't do anything that I can remember.
Yeah.
He rescued Rhodey and Rocket, right? And then the three of them kind of come out there, very akin to, when Thor and Groot and, Rocket come down in Infinity War.
Yep.
But beside that, I saw him punching a couple things. He doesn't have any moments like he did in the first couple Avengers movie at all.
I don't remember him in the final battle scene at all.
Really? He's not memorable.
When he's saying, "Look, we're drowning down here," holding the thing up, you remember that. And then he's kind of in the background of everything else.
Yeah, and that I thought was a little bit if we went into dislikes and we're not there yet, that was a little underserved of his character that I wasn't necessarily I don't have a problem with the Professor Hulk stuff. I like that. But Bruce should have been showed off more with some of the other characters. We see him properly react when he finds out Natasha dies and that stuff.
Yeah.
But I wanted more that I never got. And I thought, and I said it because you were watching a little bit in the Infinity War review. I was like, he's going to have these great moments to make up for it in Endgame. He really didn't.
Yeah.
And that becomes because there's so many characters and that he's technically one of the ones that are left that he doesn't get those moments. You have to wonder, though, going forward, is he permanently scarred? Because we see he's still in a cast and everything at the end at Tony's funeral.
Yeah.
Did the gauntlet permanently affect him where he'll never be the same?
Probably.
Yeah.
I would think so.
Yeah,
Right?
I also liked the scene with them when they're all at the diner. And they're like, "Oh, like Mr. Hulk, can we get a picture?" And then Paul Rudd's like,
That Ant-Man scene didn't work for
that
you?
scene was good.
He's like, "Oh, do you guys want a picture with me? I'm Ant-Man." And they're like who?
It's so awkward, but so beautiful.
And then Mark Ruffalo's like, "Oh no, yeah, take a picture." And then he's like, "No, it's okay. They're Hulk fans, whatever."
I really love
like
how
that.
he's made like a career out of, like, he's accepted being the Hulk. He's the best of both kind of thing. But I don't know. I wanted more there.
Yeah, I did too. He was probably actually the one character that I'd say did not get a good wrap up to his character in these last two movies. So maybe I take back what I said in my opening monologue because I said every character got a good send off. I did really kind of completely forget about Hulk. And yeah, I didn't really love how, I mean, the combination, obviously, I guess you knew it was a thing from the comics.
I didn't think they do it here, though.
Yeah, I thought it was just kind of weird because the transition, even in that aspect, from the first movie where he's struggling to become the Hulk. Remember, we see him in one of the robots during the fight scenes.
Yeah, in the Hulkbuster.
Yeah, he can't become the Hulk. And then in this scene, he goes from not being able to become the Hulk to being able to control it so well to a degree where he can.
Well, he said he spent 18 months in the lab and boom, became Professor Hulk.
Yeah, I guess, but like
it's almost
it
at the
feels
way
forced a little bit.
Yeah,
and unrealistic.
It's very similar to the beginning of Infinity War when Tony shows up and he's like, "Oh, it's nanotech, cool, right?" We never saw him building nanotech armor. We just jumped right to that.
Yeah.
So like, it's one of those things that I guess just
You
for
just
time's
take it.
sake, you
Yeah,
gotta
yeah, right,
just
right.
gotta forgive it.
But even if you have like, okay, yeah, he's Professor Hulk now. He has the ability to control it.
Sure.
You take away basically a full character from the movie because having Bruce Banner and the Hulk as two different characters, it's like when the Hulk is out, you're like, shit's about to go down. And then when he's Bruce, you're like, he's helpless in a fight, but he's got the brains.
right.
Now you have this big dude with the brains, but he still doesn't really. He doesn't have
And
the aggression.
He loses that human aspect because Bruce Banner always struggled with the Hulk and struggled with that whole aspect of his life. Now that he can control it, you kind of lose that aspect.
Yeah, well,
with
you
his
lose the
character.
human aspect, but you also lose his the aggressive nature of the Hulk is gone.
Well, that too.
That
His
I
greatest
will
strength.
destroy anything, and
Yeah.
the only sign of aggression he shows, he throws a bench into the lake when he finds out that Natasha dies.
Yeah, it's really it.
That's like the most aggressive thing he does in the entire movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And didn't he have he had a relationship with Natasha?
Yeah,
Yes.
briefly you
Yeah.
saw in Age
Yeah.
of Ultron. So I actually think that's really well put, Cal. I think it takes away from both Bruce Banner and Hulk. It negatively impacts both of them. Where if you wanted to go the Professor Hulk route, you needed to do a better job of building up to that, and they didn't.
Yeah.
And instead, you hurt both characters. It wasn't the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
You actually hurt both versions of that character.
Yeah.
Now, before we go into dislikes, any other scenes, characters, anything that you love that we haven't talked about already that you want to get into?
I'm definitely good.
You good?
Yeah, I can't really think of anything.
I mean,
off top.
there's so much. There's
Yeah.
probably so much more. So let us know down below some of your favorite moments, characters, things we did not talk about. We'll definitely talk to you in the comment section. So let us know that.
Definitely.
If we're jumping into dislikes, we've kind of touched around them. I don't have as many, but I say the one I have that's the biggest is the time travel stuff. And the only reason why I could say right now it's a dislike, I could eat my words later if they explain it at some point.
Yep.
But right now, if we're just judging this movie, they didn't do a great job of explaining it. It's kind of just, whatever, it's a comic book movie. I thought MCU movies were a little bit above that kind of stuff. And to have a movie where I now wonder so many things, especially like movies of Thor: The Dark World, how does that movie change now? Thor took the hammer out of that timeline, right? So does that mean that the Thor there didn't have the hammer anymore, or there's another hammer? We see Loki, and this is why I wanted to save that. Loki in the tower uses the Tesseract, takes the Tesseract. That's why they had to go to the 70s. He dips out. So he was never arrested, which means he never went to prison on Asgard and helped out Thor in Thor the Dark World, then was never there in Ragnarok. Does that change the events of that whole story? Like,
or is that an alternate universe?
Right, but then they also said that it's not like a Back to the Future, things like that. Once the timelines change, that past becomes your present. So it's like when 2014 Thanos comes to 2023, that is now the present. That is what's happening.
Yeah.
So that time travel is just boom, that's your new timeline.
I think,
so did it change several movies?
Does that mean
us?
Loki is alive?
I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. I think in response to that question of like basically what's going on at this point,
We don't know.
I feel like the way they explained it, which wasn't fantastic, was basically like, yeah, it's not Back to the Future, like you said. You can't just go back in the future, do something, and it's gonna when you get back to where you are in the future, everything's changed.
Clearly seeing your past self doesn't have any negative impact.
I think that...
Well, he thought it was Loki, to be fair. So even when he was knocked out, he probably thought Loki knocked him out.
Right, but that's why they just said, it's not real like Back to the Future. So,
Right.
But I just thought they did a poor job.
I think the thing that solidified that it doesn't really... I don't know how to put it. It doesn't... Like, the past... Like, this becomes your new future, right? This becomes the new everything. The past basically is like, it already happened, and that's how it happened, and that's never going to change, regardless of what you take out of it. So, like, for instance, Captain America, right? He goes back into the past, and they try to bring him back, but guess what? He's sitting on the bench over by the lake.
Yeah.
But everything else that he just did before happened, even though he still got to live this other life all of those years. So basically what they're saying is, you're not changing anything that happened, but when you go back in time, you can just live through that timeline, and it's a different, like, I guess for me, it's he's living a different life, but results to the same ending.
Right.
So yes, what happens?
That's the way I did take it like that.
It's like, so for Captain America as an example, he goes back in time and then lives this whole life, and what you're saying is, so then how does he do all these other things for them? It's like almost that they're not connected until they get to that point.
Yeah.
It's like two lines that are going like this, and they both reach the same conclusion with totally, like, none of that probably happened in Cap's timeline.
Right.
It's just he lived a normal life, went through this whole thing, no Avengers, no Thanos, up until this point is basically the way I looked at it, which to me doesn't really make any sense. So I can agree on your dislike of just, it kind of leaves you out of what the fuck.
Yeah, I think they could have did a better job explaining. I will say that actually, if we jump back into likes real quick, that scene old Steve had with Sam passing it off, and him being Cap, where technically in the comics the second Cap ends up being Bucky, and this universe it makes complete sense that all the things Bucky did and how the public views Bucky, he can't be Captain America, but a decorated soldier like Sam, he absolutely could.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm very looking much forward to that. That was a beautiful scene, and him going, "Oh, you're going to tell me about that girl?" And him just going, "I don't think I will." And like keeping that to himself, and the movie ends with they get their dance. So that was great there. But with my theories here, again, just trying to explain it for myself to understand it. This is the way I see it. With Loki, it very way like what happened might be we're getting a Loki series. So what happened during that might be very similar to all these other characters that I've referenced, where now that he disappeared in 2012 there, the show might take place of what changed in the timeline now of what he did.
Yeah.
But the way I view Loki's series is they usually say, and they said it in this movie, that regardless of what you do with time, most of the time it will snap back to what was going to happen. You'll try to change it, and it'll happen. I still think on the Statesman, which was the ship at the end of Thor Ragnarok, that's what it was called, I think he still dies by Thanos' hand there. I think what happened in the interim is what changes, but his future, his
fate
death,
is still
his
there.
fate never changes. He will always end up back at that point, even if whatever happened. Now, that brings a lot of questions of Ragnarok, Dark World, how do those events change? Who knows? With Cap, I think it's very much a time paradox loop. Okay, if you watch a show like The Flash or any of that kind of stuff, you'll see those moments where Cap, 1940s, right, fights Red Skull, goes down in the ice, comes back 65, 70 years later, becomes an Avenger, does all that stuff, blah, 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 all the way till the end of Endgame. That Cap then goes back in time, he clips the branches and puts all the stones back, which we'll talk about that too, puts all the stones back. He comes back and lives a life where he fought World War I, did the Red Skull thing, except he didn't go into the ice. Because he's still Cap back then. He's not little Steve. He went through the serum. He did all that stuff.
Yep.
He now lives a life with Peggy that leads him up to being the old man that comes back. That old man scene can't exist without him even going into the ice and being Cap, who came out 65, 70 years later. It's just a constant loop. It's very confusing, where he basically lived 2 lives, but it's this half was Cap, and this half was just living with Peggy. But they all have to be connected to go one to the other. So that's how I try to explain it. That could be completely false. That's just how I
one
try to
timeline
rationalize.
Can't exist without the other
Exactly.
timeline. Yeah.
But they're all the same timeline. It's just that there's a point where there's 2 points that change. If Steve going to the ice or Steve going back in time. Those are your 2 ends of the circle here. And that they're 2 different routes. One of Steve being Cap coming out of the ice. One of Steve being with Peggy and not living as Cap after World War II. Mm-hmm. But they're both connected and end at the same points. We go back to the same thing.
Yep.
That's how I took it.
Yeah.
But with time travel here, that could be completely wrong. I mean, you open up a huge, huge door with this now that I don't necessarily like.
Well, I think the way of closing that door, I guess you could say, is them returning the stones to where they were. Because in that sense, now, like, in the present, in 2023, the stones should technically be where they were.
Right, but how did he... I was talking to a friend today about this, right? How did he return the stones, right? Think about when they go and get the stones, right? He has the stones in its purest form.
Right.
How does he put the stone back in the Tesseract form? How does he put the stone back in the scepter where they found it? How does the ether that's now a stone but was actually a liquid at first, how does he inject that into Natalie Portman? Like, the places that they got it, how does he even put them where they are?
I guess.
How does he put the Soul Stone back? Like, yo, Red Skull, peace, bro. And he get like how does he even do that? They just like passed right over that.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, you're right.
I mean, I guess at that point it's more of a you don't need to know how he did it.
Turn your brain off kind of thing.
Well, not even like yes and no. Like you just kind of say how like Cap is like he's good enough to figure it out because. Like they said, oh, how long is it going to take? Well, for him, it could take years, but for us, it's going to take 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's like basically, it's going to take him as long as it can to bring them to wherever they need to be. But in the end, he'll get it done. It doesn't matter. And for us, it's just boom, bring him back. Yeah. He's done everything.
That I did wonder. Like the Time Stone is probably the easiest one to bring back. Ancient one, thank you. Boom,
Right.
bring it back. But even the Power Stone, all right, encapsulate it in that and put it on that abandoned planet again. How do you get the other stones to go back where they were? Ones that were encased in actual objects. I don't know.
No idea.
The Soul Stone would have been an interesting one to see,
yeah,
right?
if he sees Red Skull, like, why did we get robbed of that scene?
Yeah, I know.
Hey, buddy, here, just take this back. I don't want it.
Oh, you're still alive? Oh,
Yeah.
Cool.
You're stuck in this hell, so farewell.
So that was the things I didn't like there. Dill, did you have any major dislikes? In
No,
the movie?
I really didn't. The time travel, now that you mention it, very confusing, and there definitely are a lot of holes in it. But honestly, at the time and right after, there were so many, I think, good things that I didn't even have time
it doesn't
to...
ruin the movie experience for me. It's more that just when I think about it in the nerdy way.
Oh, yeah,
of
no,
like,
and that's understandable.
I
do
kind of
the
want
same thing, yeah.
I kind of wanted the movie to do a little more service in explaining it.
Yeah. That's fair.
And they only had really that one scene when they're testing it out. It's very quick back and forth. Like, you have to watch it many times, and I've only seen it once, to really understand. Like, they're just speaking at a mile a minute.
Yeah.
Beside that, like, none of those parts, as far as I know, and you could correct me if I'm wrong down below, explain how you put the stones back. Like, when they're in their purest form, how do you get them back into the Tesseract or the Scepter or anything? That's just never explained.
It's funny because even when Bruce is explaining it to what's her face, the one that was in Doctor Strange.
Oh, the ancient one?
Yes, the ancient one. So he's explaining it to her. He's like, well, see, we're going to take it out, and it's going to create this timeline, but when we put it back at the time...
It just puts it...
It brings it back to the
right
same
back
one.
in.
But wouldn't Cap have to time travel like 6 times then? To keep getting them back to the points where they were?
At least 3 times, because I guess he could bring 3 of them back to New York like they time traveled there, but another Cap is then running around again in the Battle of New York. How is he return? Like, it doesn't... It's very convoluted.
Yeah, it's definitely
and
convoluted.
also, I guess this is just me like going way too far, but like when he goes back, right?
Right.
So he's going back into the past. I may actually have just answered my own question in my head, but he's going back into the past. Wouldn't he see the other ones that also went back into the past if he goes to the exact same time?
You would imagine. And even the other questions of like the life he got to live with Peggy, how did he stop himself from crashing in the ice? What was his solution there? I guess we'll never know that.
Right.
Like,
right.
So it's things like that like nag at me a little bit that kind of can
that's fair.
Ruin the experience a little bit.
Sure.
And the other little nitpicky thing was the all female team up thing there at the end. Wasn't a huge fan of that because for me I love the female characters in this universe and I love powerful female characters in general.
They did it in Infinity War.
Right. I love, and that's my point, I love Captain Marvel. It's my favorite superhero in anything. But why in Infinity War do Natasha, Scarlet Witch, and Okoye have to be negated to just they can only fight the female villain? It has to be an all-girls fight. And then in this it's like all the girls have to team up for this big climactic scene. Why couldn't they have other amazing scenes throughout? Like, why do you have to make it a point where it's like they're only relegated to just this, and they're not important
That
enough?
female villain was such a good. I loved her.
Yeah,
and
Proxima
they
Midnight.
didn't show her at all.
She's there a little bit
in the background.
You see her holding her husband
I
there at
saw
the end.
the one weird dude.
Yeah, Corvus Glaive.
He was.
They're
pretty
actually
prominent.
they're married, the two of them. Yeah, well, Ebony Maw is the speaking one. He was
the
back
speaking
again.
one's the one I was.
Yeah.
That whole scene to me,
it's a little forced.
It's so forced, and it literally draws the attention away from what's going on.
Yeah.
It's not like if you're actually in that fight.
Yeah.
All the women aren't just going to go gather up
Yeah.
into a circle and be like, "Oh no, she's got all of us," and all of them come from wherever the hell on the battlefield they are into this one spot.
Not only that, it would have worked a lot better if the girl character was not Captain Marvel. Because Captain Marvel does not need any help.
It's not only that. She hasn't had any time with any of those characters. They don't know who the hell she is.
Right.
Like, yes, you could presumably say that she's gotten to know a little bit of them in the 5 years as she looks like she's been an Avenger, right? She's reporting the Black Widow there. But as she also says there, she's been on thousands of worlds. She's very busy. How much time have they really spent with her? So, like, it doesn't build up as well as you really want it to.
I understand why they did it, and that's just the way things are now. You need like some female empowerment scene for whatever reason, but Captain Marvel's literally the most powerful one. Yeah. They don't need any female empowerment there. She just took out the entire Thanos' entire ship.
Yeah.
She doesn't need any other scene for that.
Like, I'm fine with the female empowerment. I love that kind of stuff. But when you force it like that, where I feel like you relegate and do a disservice to those female characters that they can only have their big moments if it's about other female characters, villain or hero.
Yeah.
No, like they're just as important as any of the other characters. And I feel like when you're like, progressive with this scene, it kind of has the opposite effect.
It was much better, like, when they had them, like, some of them at least they did it with, where they had their own individual scenes where they were.
It was great.
Like,
Wanda scene, amazing.
The Wanda scene was amazing. When when Spider-Man has the freaking the gauntlet, and like Valkyrie helps him up onto like the Pegasus and all that. Like,
great.
It's a very cool scene, and it shows that they're all playing a vital role in what's going on. And then you just like, and Pepper comes in and she's fighting with Tony. Like, they're both sitting there,
amazing,
killing people. It's awesome.
Yeah, Wasp with Ant-Man there. Like, all that stuff was great.
Ant-Man. And they're teaming up, and it's guy and girl, which is cool. It's like it's equal, this whole, and then it's like, oh, by the way, every female character now is going to come into this one circle and say, yo, we got this. Like, you don't need it just was so not needed.
Yeah, and like there's so many, like you said, great solo even female moments, but to do that with also the one being, and as much as I love Carol, of like, she doesn't know any of these people really. So like it doesn't have any emotional weight right there. I will say though that I know it's comic book like where they cut her hair. She has that, now in the newer comics. I like it, but like I love the long hair definitely better.
Yeah.
And I will say that if you were going to do that, you shouldn't have just had the long hair for one movie. Like, that should have been at least a couple movies, and then you cut it. So that was like, it was a little jarring when you came back 5 years later, and it's like, damn it. Like, she did it.
Yeah.
I will say, though, jumping back to likes there just real quick, that Natasha, she carries the movie in the first act, in my opinion, because they do a great job of setting it up and how everything is so, like, weighted, and you feel how horrible it is living in this world. She's the character that is you could see great acting by Scarlett Johansson of how much this is weighing on that. Almost like she's trapped into being an Avenger.
Yeah.
She has nowhere else to go.
Well,
she's crying, eating a peanut butter and jelly, peanut butter sandwich there, but she's still being strong for everybody else.
When Cap shows up and he's like, you don't have to do this. Like,
Yeah.
why are you here? Like, just relax,
Yeah,
Do-
like we need to get
do
a
what
life.
you want. And she's like, if I don't do it, then no one's doing it.
Yeah.
And
She was
it's
great.
like, basically, like you said, she's trapped. She's running the Avengers.
Great. That's a great female hero moment right there.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, I think like the first act is definitely a little bit slower, so that would be one of my dislikes of like it takes a while to get going.
There's a lot of recapping because of the time travel.
Yeah.
So you see a lot of footage that a lot of it you've seen.
Yeah.
Like, because they set up the scene before everybody comes in, and you're hearing conversations you've already heard. You're seeing things that happen that you've already seen. And it's like, this is great because I understand they're time traveling, but at the same time, it's like a lot of time is spent on scenes that, like, the movie was 3 hours and 2 minutes with about 25 to 30 minutes of scenes from the other movies.
Yeah, and that's even more in the second act. It's just that first act where before, like, where we're assembling everybody.
True.
It takes a little bit of time there, and I think she did a great job actually of carrying that first part.
Yeah,
Her and
she
Cap
does.
for me. I love that stuff there. But really, music was great. Everything the time travel stuff is obviously big, but it's also one of those things where I could turn my brain off a little bit. It's probably going to be answered in some ways in Far From Home, the director's commentary, other movies. I'm not going to stress about it. Ain't going to keep me up. It's just things almost I want to open up to you guys of like, what do you think about it?
I feel like Guardians 3 is going to be a big... It's going to fill that void of, well, are people going to come back? Because I think in Far From Home, that's literally far from home. Like, it's far from the Avengers.
But we leave questions there, right? Those are things we have to answer there. That it's been 5 years, right? So the classmates of Peter Parker that were not snapped, assuming like his friend Ned was snapped, and let's say MJ and Aunt May, the other classmates, they theoretically graduated high school, right? They're done. So now kids that were your own age are not your own age anymore. So like now you live in a world with that now. Okay, now you live in a world where you have to deal with all these people that were snapped coming back. Whether you love them or hate them, how do you deal with all these emotions? Like, I would assume that him, Ned, the people that went through the snaps are going to talk about that of like, okay, we're the same age, but still like 5 years in this world has passed. Like, we've missed a lot. Like, that's something you need to pick up in Far From Home if that's the one ending phase 3.
Yep.
So right now that's not necessarily a dislike. They could have explained that a little bit more, touched that a little bit more in Endgame, but if we get that in Far From Home, I'll forgive that.
Yep.
So any
I
other
agree.
dislikes, anything you guys had? All right, so you guys want to jump into rating?
That sounds good.
That sound good?
Yeah.
For me, I've kind of went back and forth as I do on most of these movies of what I wanted to rate it. To me, this is not as complete a movie experience for me as Infinity Wars. I think that movie was better, even though I love this movie. Don't get me wrong, but that movie, we looked back, I gave that like a 9.9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Maybe a little high, but still, great movie. This, I think I got to go in like that 9.3 range. Very high still, just like the not explaining of some things, the potential major plot holes, and what you're opening up with a lot of characters causes some problems, but otherwise, the callbacks, the moments, the send-off of the original 6, all that other stuff, absolutely amazing. What an incredible job Marvel and Disney have done of over 22 freaking movies. This will never, I'm pretty convinced, will never be done again in our lifetime.
Yeah.
And that any studio will be able to do something like this. They deserve props. The Russo brothers, all the actors and actresses, absolutely amazing job. You guys deserve a round of applause.
Yeah. I think my rating for Infinity War was a 9.75, right?
Yeah.
And that's probably exactly what I'll put here as well.
It's consistent.
And I think because both of them I went in, not with an expectation this is gonna be perfect, everything's gonna be perfect, but like there were so many things in this movie that I was like, I don't know how they're gonna do this. I don't know.
Yeah.
And the way they did it, there was a lot of things I was like, there isn't a better way to do this.
Yeah.
And like we said about Tony Stark, like just his entire rounding out of his character and finishing him off the way they did.
It's beautiful.
That to me just boosts the rating so much because there is nothing they could have done differently, I think, that would have been better than how they did it.
Not with his character.
So that to me alone just makes it such a great movie, and that's why I think 9.75.
I agree. Dill, where are you coming down on the rating?
Yeah, so I going into it, I really did not think they were going to be able to wrap up the story as well and concrete as they did. The timeline stuff, you bring up a really good point with that, but to be honest, it really didn't bother me too much thinking about it now, and in hindsight, it probably, there's definitely...
Hindsight's always 20/20.
Absolutely, there's definitely holes there, but I'm going to give 9.75 as well. I thought it was an incredible movie, one of the best movies I've seen in probably the last 5-10 years, maybe. Probably since Logan, actually.
I loved Logan.
I love Logan. I think I did like Logan a little more, but this was just an amazing movie, and it's just wrapping up such a great franchise that's been with us now for over a decade. Yeah, pretty much our whole youth growing up, created some amazing memories around it, and so maybe it's a little bit of nostalgia there, but I truly do believe that nostalgia aside, biases aside, it was just a very well-rounded movie, and I definitely recommend checking it out. Even if you haven't watched the Avengers, watch Infinity War, watch Endgame. You won't regret it. Two masterpieces. I mean, really great movies.
Do you remember what you gave Infinity War as rating?
9.5.
Okay, so you're above it.
I liked it a little better, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough here. I thought of one moment that was a little dislike there is they did do exactly what I didn't want them to do, and they kind of robbed us of Captain Marvel meeting all the Avengers. We got that great end credit scene there at the end of Captain Marvel. Her going, "Where's Fury?" They kind of skip over that.
Yeah.
And we don't see, her explain this is who I am, this is where I've been. And we do a thing where she goes up and gets Tony. Did they tell her to go look up there? Because you would assume she came down and said, "Where's Fury?" They met her, and then they explain, Tony is missing, blah, blah, blah. We don't even know if he's alive. Can you go check? And that's how she got him. Because they're not really shocked when she comes back down.
That must have been it.
So
that's
how at least my mind works, but I felt that could have been done a little better.
Definitely.
I really did like, even though this was in the previews also, but her meeting Thor, and when he reached for, and he's like, I like this one.
Yeah,
I just thought it was so easy, but it was awesome.
It was perfect and fits Thor completely. So I guess that kind of wraps up our thoughts here on Endgame. Yeah. It's a very long review, so if you stay towards the end, Dill, thanks for staying awake.
No problem.
Thank you just for staying with us. We will be finishing out Phase 3, I would imagine, with a review for Far From Home. But we're very high on Endgame. Please go out if you're a Marvel fan or even a movie fan. This is a big deal.
So good.
Go out, see this. I hope you didn't get spoiled. You didn't get spoiled too bad.
No,
hopefully anything major didn't happen. You didn't get Tony's death, spoiled for you or anything else. Go check this out and just experience what a masterpiece these 22 movies really have been. We've had highs, we've had lows, but this has been a great way to send out the original 6 Avengers.
It makes me want to watch all of them.
Oh my God! It does. Well, they offered $1,000 if you did that. That company was offering that, but that's a lot. It's over 48 hours. But guys, let us know your thoughts down below. You guys are just as important to these reviews. We want to talk to you down below. Let us know your time travel theories. Try to help us explain and work some of this stuff out.
Absolutely.
Favorite moments, characters. What do you think about the send-offs of a lot of these characters? And what are you looking forward to going into Far From Home? And then we don't know what other movies are coming in Phase 4, so give us your theories there down below. Any other thoughts, predictions? We want to hear them. Please talk to us down below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Share with your friends if you'd be so kind. And until next review, guys, thanks for watching.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.